Hey guys, it's Oluvids, and today we're going to be doing a JRPG tier list. Now, this year I want to go on a journey of playing a bunch of new JRPGs, expanding my horizons and all of that. I've already played a good amount of them, more than a lot of people, but I still feel like there's still so much out there to see. There's just tons and tons of, not even just JRPGs, but RPGs in general. And before I really dive into trying out all these new games, I want to do a tier list based on the ones I have played already, and get my general thoughts and opinions of them and comparing and contrasting where they all rank. And yeah, so I figured I'll start off with this, and then later on down the year, either the end of the year or starting 2026, I can add all the new games I've played and any opinions I've changed, and we could see how much more I've expanded my horizons. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoy, and in terms of when I'm next going to try out a new JRPG, I'm going to be streaming Xenogears soon, or I might have started already depending on when you're watching it, so that will be fun. I hope you tune in. I'll be streaming it on Wednesdays at 6 p.m. So anyway, let's get into this tier list. Alright, so I'm going to start from the bottom and then work my way up to my favorite RPG series. So first off, we got on C rank is Dark Souls. Alright, wait, hear me out. I've only played Dark Souls 1, and yes, I have beaten the game. I really like the vibe of it along with the lore after checking out some YouTube videos. I think my favorite area of the game is Anor Londo, but my issue was with the combat. I just think the combat's a little too slow for my tastes. I'm sure once I play a newer FromSoft game like Dark Souls 3 or Elden Ring, then I'd like it more. You could say maybe a more creative build would give me an easier time, though. I mean, it's not really about easy or hard. I just want combat that, yes, is challenging, but also is smooth and responsive. We'll see what happens. I do plan on playing the other FromSoft games, so I'll update you all when I do. Next on my list is Phantasy Star. I've only played one game in this series as well, just like Dark Souls, and that is Phantasy Star Online 2 New Genesis, which is the MMO if you don't know. Now, I do have the original Phantasy Star on my Switch, but I just haven't gotten to that yet, so I'm going based off of only this game. New Genesis is a game that I think has an okay story and a pretty good action combat system. I never got bored of mowing down on enemies with my sword and my launcher. The movement's also pretty good, and you can sprint and jump, and the story has some cool sci-fi concepts, but the characters are kind of basic. The designs of the characters are good though, but the game also is not as polished as something like Final Fantasy XIV, so the models can look a little off in terms of lighting or animation. Also, since this game is free, it's riddled with the reminders of daily login rewards and cosmetic microtransactions, which cheapens the experience in my opinion. I am excited to eventually play the original one since it's like an adventure that takes place across different planets, so that should be pretty cool. But for now, this is my experience with Phantasy Star, placing it on C right above Dark Souls. Next on the list is another one that might be controversial. I don't know. Maybe not controversial, but whoever's watching this might raise an eyebrow. Persona. Now, okay, I love the concept of Persona, and I actually enjoyed Persona 5, but as I stated in my video I made, I genuinely didn't have a good time with most of Persona 3 and 4. I think my main issue is that for how long the games are, it's very repetitive, and the stories themselves take a while to really get interesting. I can't really enjoy them from an adventuring or explorative aspect because even the other worlds you travel to are so restrictive. The social aspect of the game isn't even all that interesting either. It is very repetitive, and it has a bunch of simple stories that are stretched across a long period of time. Persona 5, in comparison, had heavier themes right from the start of the game, and it's got a flair that captivated me throughout the entire thing. Anyway, the games I've played have great music and also great character and persona designs. This is a series I really wanted to like, but it's just like it just felt like such a drag for a majority of the time when I played it. We'll see what happens. I mean, I think that I'll probably like whatever new Personas comes out since I like Persona 5, and we'll see what happens. I'm eventually going to play 1 and 2 as well, but I haven't played those yet, but I am very curious since those are not social sim games and just are more straight up RPGs and dungeon crawlers. With the battle systems, I also felt was pretty, I don't know, it didn't click with me a lot until Persona 5. That one actually felt pretty fun, switching around and having all your party members present and being able to baton pass, and it really felt fun kind of figuring out what you want to do with your party. Alright, so now we've made it to the B ranking. Next one I got on the list is something that you're probably not going to expect, and it is Find Me from the 3DS Street Pass Plaza. I put this here because I thought it'd be funny, but this was a JRPG where you use rental party members or people's Miis that you pass with Street Pass. It was fun checking every time I Street Pass to see if I got the right person or grinding a lot of play coins for the rental guys. For some reason I like things like that, even though they'd be way more seamless in a normal game. It's kind of similar to how I like the Toys to Life idea, even though the idea of buying every character in the game would be ridiculous in any other context. I don't know, I just like when actions you do in real life affect the game, outside of course, the usual pressing buttons. I also gotta mention that I really like how the rental party members, instead of other Miis, were cats and dogs. And also this game had actually good music for some reason. I don't know why they made such good battle music for like, not even the full game, but like a small mini game part of the Street Pass Plaza. This could genuinely go into some classic RPGs, but yeah, surprisingly, this was actually pretty fun. Anyway, next on the B ranking is Inazuma 11. So this is a unique RPG here. It's a soccer-based JRPG. It's kind of like Pokemon, where each character has different elements and you can collect a bunch of them. And in terms of like the story and the vibe of it, it's kind of similar to something like Beyblade. Everyone's got these crazy special moves, and it's just a very, very anime soccer game. The story can be pretty absurd at points, but they'll also have characters randomly dealing with traumatic events. I very much like the music from Inazuma 11 1. It always gets me amped up to get on the field and play some soccer. For this one, I played both Inazuma 11 1 and 2, and I've watched some of the Inazuma 11 3 anime. Anyway, next on the list, I'm gonna kind of bundle these two options here. It's Undertale and Deltarune. So Deltarune's gonna be right above Inazuma 11, and then Undertale's on top of that. Undertale is one of the most unique RPGs on this list, kind of like Inazuma 11. It's half RPG, half bullet hell. It's got quirky humor and funny but earnest characters. Maybe I'd be a bigger fan of it if I looked into the lore more, but I was pretty satisfied after just one playthrough. I may play it again someday to prove flatly wrong though, but I really like the idea of maybe like you can play an RPG, but like you don't need to fight or kill any enemies. Instead, you talk things out with them and you end things peacefully, or you can choose to kill everyone and face the consequences of those actions. I'm aware this wasn't the first RPG to ever explore this idea. I think this game was inspired by Moon, but I haven't played that yet. So that leads me into Deltarune, which I have pretty much similar feelings as Undertale, but it's got some cool different gameplay changes, and you've got party members in this one, which is pretty cool. The music is great in both of them. I didn't mention Toby Fox is really talented at this stuff. Yeah, but I'm gonna put Deltarune under Undertale though, because honestly the story is cool, but it's not actually finished yet. There's still more parts coming out, so I mean they're coming out with 3 and 4 soon, so we'll see what happens. Next on the B rank is Fire Emblem. Now this is another one. I know this is another one where I've only played one game in the series. The game I played is Fire Emblem 3 Houses, and I thought the tactical gameplay was pretty cool. Thinking of ways to position your units while trying not to let anyone die was a challenge. The character relationship aspect of the game was actually pretty interesting, since you got to see almost if not every character have a side storyline interaction with each other and not just with the main character. It's also cool how you can recruit more units if you play your cards right in terms of this whole school aspect. I do eventually want to play some more Fire Emblem. I'm a Marth main in Smash Bros, so I want to play at least a Marth game and, you know, maybe Awakening or something like that. I'm not the biggest tactical guy, but like I like it well enough, but it's not my favorite type of RPG, so that's probably why I haven't played a ton of these, but I'm interested in playing some more Fire Emblem as time goes on. And the top RPG on the B ranking is actually my first RPG ever, which was Pokemon. So Pokemon fills a part of the JRPG space that, while inhabited by other series, it still stands out as its own thing to me. I've mentioned Persona, which is a series where you can collect a bunch of different monsters, personas, shadows, and this. I actually enjoy that aspect a lot more in Pokemon. I like how you can personalize your team and stick with whoever appeals to you. The series also has a nice sense of adventure in its earlier entries, but the stories have actually evolved thematically and character-wise, starting from when you hit the DS era. I think the series does start to feel stagnant once you hit the Switch era, but at the same time, I do also like and respect that Pokemon's remained pretty traditional with its gameplay for the most part. I am pretty interested to see where the series is going to go with Legends ZA. Anyway, I really like how at the end of the day, you're going out on an adventure with 6 pets and fighting criminal organizations while charting out your Pokemon League career. It's a very solid and effective premise to have as a game series, and honestly, I haven't even scratched the surface of the appeal of Pokemon. I think it's also kind of insane how there's a whole multiplayer online aspect to the game that none of these games on this list even have. They've got huge official tournaments and lots of crazy tactics you can do online. The gameplay is pretty easy in the main game, but once you hit online, that opens you up to a whole new world of strategy, and it's not something that you have in any other series. I also like the community aspect of the series where you can trade with your friends and you can battle your friends and all that type of stuff, communicate with your friends via the internet or local play. Anyway, so Pokemon is B ranked at my list. Now we're going into the A ranks, and we're getting into the games, the series that I truly think is starting to get on top tier. Maybe not peak, but it's like almost there. So the first of the A ranks is a game called Dragon's Dogma. Now, this is a game I only ever heard of because of Discord. This is a game that I love full on for the adventure and exploration. Honestly, the story is not that much to write home about, but it's cool to walk around with your pawns as you do quests and do funny things like climb on cyclopses. The combat is really fun. It's an action system where you can do things like pick people up, throw them, climb on enemies. You can do just about anything you can put your mind to, honestly. Like if you want to climb up a cyclops and start slashing his eye, you can genuinely do that. Like it's really fun. You even have a class system in there. There's not a ton of classes, but I like how you can mix and match them. I had a sword and a bow and arrow, so it was good to have close range and long range combat. I feel like playing Dragon's Dogma is like playing Lord of the Rings or something. Like it's like Fellowship of the Ring type adventure. You're going around and finding all sorts of crazy stuff, and you gotta do all sorts of crazy tactics to try to survive these situations you find yourself in. Next up on the list is, oh man, this is a very important game in my opinion. Not necessarily in the sense of like a legacy it left behind, this is not a very long series, so I'm just gonna say Chrono Trigger, but you can think of it as the Chrono series. So Chrono Trigger is a once-in-a-lifetime game that's a fusion of Final Fantasy and Dragon Quest. Trigger is basically like if you took the storytelling of Dragon Quest with the ATB system from Final Fantasy. And even then, the ATB system is a unique version where you can do combination attacks with different party members. Anyway, this game also sets itself apart by being a time travel story, where you go throughout the game, the same overworld but in different time periods. And I also like that it isn't just past, present, and future. There's actually little different points in between those typical 3 points. So you may have 100 AD, and then you have the Ice Age, and then you have the prehistoric era, and you have far in the future, and you have 1999, all these different stuff. It makes for a very fun, very unique adventure. Just the fact that you got like Hironobu Sakaguchi, Yuji Horii, and Akira Toriyama working on a project, and on the music you got Nobuo Tamatsu and Yasunori Mitsuda working on some amazing music. This is literally like a once-in-a-lifetime game. It's not my favorite game ever, but like the fact that this game exists and the things that this game does is just like, this is just one of the coolest things ever. I really wish they made more Chrono games, more Chrono Trigger games. They made Chrono Cross as well, but that's like, as far as I'm aware, not made by all the same people. So I mean, it's in the series. I think things like Lavos is still in there, but like it's not really the same as this. Chrono Trigger might as well be kind of considered separate from Chrono Cross. Definitely want to try out Chrono Cross eventually. That came out for the PS1 and it looks cool, but I know it's not the most popular thing. Chrono Trigger is definitely a lot more well beloved. So next on this list is another kind of monster catcher, monster collector series, Shin Megami Tensei, which is where Persona spawned off of. And as you can tell from the rankings, I like Shin Megami Tensei a lot more than Persona. Anyway, I've played 2 games from this series, which is SMT4 and SMT5. Now, SMT really sold me on 3 things: the alignment system, the press turn system, and the atmosphere. I really like the gameplay of these games as well as the state of the world that you play in. And I like how you get to choose what path you go on, which is usually law, neutral, or chaos. And the state of the world usually is a post-apocalyptic Tokyo. I mean, being in a post-apocalyptic world is really cool, and it's really cool to explore. You can see what used to be a bustling city and now reduced to a bunch of demons running around, running rampant, and humans just struggling to survive. The press turn system is extremely fun too. Mixing that in with buffs and debuffs and stats effects, and it makes for a very fun turn-based system. I mentioned that this game is a monster catching game, kind of like Pokemon, and honestly I'm not the biggest fan of how you gotta fuse all your older ones to progress strength wise. Still, this game's systems, its battle systems, is top notch honestly in the turn-based genre. It's challenging, but like it's not impossible. Like if you really try and really use all your options, you'll be able to play the game just fine. And yeah, just the general atmosphere, the music is amazing. The hard rock it's got, the hard rock as well as like the atmospheric music and the ethereal music from say SMT5. It sounds so unique, and it really sets the tone and the vibe for when you're walking around these apocalyptic worlds and just taking in the destruction that has been caused, really causing you to think about what you want to do with the world, where you take the world, what's the next step you want the world to go in. And this is just like such an amazing series. I have got to play SMT3 Nocturne. Even story-wise, just like I found it very interesting with how even SMT5, which people didn't really like the story that much, or at least a good chunk of them didn't, the war of the angels, the gods, the orders of chaos and evil against the order of law, the law route, and the angels and all of that was so cool. And just like the way the humans were being thrust into the truth, the reality of the world, which is the apocalyptic desolate lands left by the great war of the gods, glimmering shimmering sands of that and all of that. I like SMT4, but also I really like SMT5, and 4 was great as well. Being in like a samurai society, living nice on the countryside, and then going down deep into the depths of Naruku, and then eventually finding that the entire Eastern Kingdom of Mikado is above a completely destroyed Tokyo in this giant tower. You climb down the tower, you see all this technology, it's like magic, and you got these humans that are just struggling, fighting for their lives against the demons. It's just, oh man, I'm gushing. This video was scripted, by the way, but I went off script. I just started gushing about SMT. It's really good. So next on the A rank list, the A rank is Xenosaga, not Xenoblade. Xenosaga is one of the few JRPGs I've played so far that's fully sci-fi, and so that already makes it stand out. But on top of that, it's a story with a lot of moving parts, and it's really fun to try to dissect and deduce what's really going on. And while I didn't like reading data logs in something like Final Fantasy 13, in this series it was always really fun to read through all the terms and character bios every time an entry was added. Most of the main cast also has really interesting character arcs that last the entire trilogy. But you can tell that for some others, they had their backstories reduced since Takahashi did not have enough time to do his original vision. They had to condense the series into 3 games, a mobile game, and an audio drama. So definitely it's not as fleshed out as it could have been, but like 80% of it is fleshed out so well that like it had a really good story, really great characters. Again, no spoilers, but it's kind of insane. I've never played a series where it's like you're playing through 3 interconnected games, and throughout the entire series you're going back to this one specific event and seeing things from different perspectives, and it's illuminating you on what's really going on in different ways. It's just like, if you play Xenosaga, you know what I'm talking about. I thought things like that was really interesting, and the way it dives into these characters' backstories is like really cool. The thing that's holding Xenosaga back is the gameplay, honestly. Unfortunately, I don't know why my voice cracked there. The thing that holding back this series is the gameplay. Like, I think the gameplay is fine in 1 and 2, but like I think 3 is the only game where like I feel it's really solid in terms of the battle system. 1 and 2, it's like it's more unique than 3. 3 is like a regular turn-based system. 1 and 2 is like it's a little more experimental. Like in 1 you got your combos, in 2 you also have combos, but they added things like break, topple, and smash, which is stuff you see eventually in another series I may talk about later. Yeah, they have great ideas for 2 especially. Is like it's great ideas. It's got a really good idea. It's just I don't like how it plays out. I don't like how low your base damage is. It's like if you don't get a combo in, you're not doing any damages. There's no point in doing anything that's not a combo, basically. But the combo can be so easily thrown off in that game. You can have 3 boosts on everybody. You set up this crazy combo, but then one person misses, and it just ruins the entire thing, and you got to boost all over again. Xenosaga 3 is like, yeah, it's a regular turn-based RPG. It still keeps the boost system, which I like, but it's a lot more of a regular game, and I'm not someone who hates regular turn-based, so I very much enjoyed Xenosaga 3's battles. In terms of the dungeons and there's not really overworlds, not much really. Gameplay in terms of walking around, NPCs, side content, and dungeons were really good, especially like how the dungeons had puzzles in them, and different things like that was really memorable and really fun to figure out. In terms of, also I want to highlight the presentation of these games. These games, all 3 of them are PS2 games, but you can tell even on the first one they have a really clear vision for very, very impactful and cinematic presentation in terms of the voice acting, for the most part, not everyone, but the voice acting, the camera work, the character animations, and all of that. I've never seen a game have so much FMVs in it, and the music is so good. Orchestra, Yosunori Matsuda in the first game. I don't know the composers for the second and third game. I actually like the music of the gameplay music of the second game more than a lot of others, but the cutscene music is really where it shines, and Xenosaga 3's music is top tier, best in that series. So anyway, Xenosaga Saga is a top series. It's definitely up there. It's so close to S, but it's just there's certain things that does bring it down that I gotta dock points for. So the tippity top of A rank, the absolute pinnacle of A rank JRPGs so far in my opinion, is Dragon Quest. Now this series I can easily see jumping up to S once I play more games. Now I have played more than one game in this series. I've played 4 games. I've played Dragon Quest 1, 2, 8, and 11. I've liked all 4 of them. 11 by far is my favorite though, and 11 alone, if I was doing 11 alone, I'd put it up on S. I'd put it up like near top of S. I like Dragon Quest 1, 2, and 8 as well, but like I don't see them as like peak or anything. It's like these are really solid RPGs. I love the pure spirit of adventure that this series exudes. It's a fantasy game that feels like a fairy tale or a bedtime story. It's mostly nice and cozy vibes, but it will shock you with how emotional it gets. As a Dragon Ball fan, it is also fun to play an RPG with Akira Toriyama's art style, and the gag humor is felt in a lot of the monster designs. In a world with many iterated turn-based combat, it's nice to have a series that's still ongoing that sticks to traditional turn-based gameplay. I like all these different, press turn and ATB and all that. I like all of them, but there are times when I just want to go back to regular old traditional turn-based combat, and I'm glad that I have this series to do that with. I also want to mention that there is literally no other series on this list that sounds like Dragon Quest. You get the full effect of the emotions that the game wants you to feel, with the sweeping instruments played by the Tokyo Metropolitan Symphony Orchestra. Oh man, it's so good. I actually really like too that they aren't pitch perfect like the MIDI versions of the soundtracks. It really sounds like you're in person listening to a live concert. Alright, so now we have reached to the pinnacle of my RPG list. This one has only 4 entries compared to A rank, and this is where I consider these are like the best RPGs series in the game, or at least my favorites. Obviously your list could be a lot different from mine. Starting off with S rank is a little niche series called The World Ends With You. My favorite part of The World Ends With You is the story and the relatable character arcs that play out throughout a supernatural death game that oozes urban culture. The action combat is actually really unique and fun in both games, and also the J-pop, rock, and rap in this game is fun too. And this is like the urban equivalent of having top-notch orchestral music in an RPG. This is also a very low-budget series that comes up with such an aesthetically pleasing way of presenting the game, despite its limitations, and it wanted to have a heavy influence on everyone who's played it. Honestly, even just like the characters done by Tetsuya Nomura and Gen Kobayashi are very fun, very memorable. It's very unique. Like, you're not gonna forget Neku Sakuraba's character design ever. Even Neo: The Ones With You, I really liked that game's character designs as well. Both of these stories, I played both Neo and the original World Ends With You, and I like the gameplay more in Neo, but the original still has a really fun combat system. You do like a touchscreen gameplay on the bottom screen, and you do buttons for the top screen. And I've also played Final Remix, so I've had that gameplay, but I think it does work better on DS. But the story, the characters go across on the structure, the gameplay loop of the game. It's not a long game either. Like, a lot of these games on this list could be pretty long, and I encourage everybody to play The World Ends With You if you haven't already. Anyway, so next game on this list, going right above The World Ends With You, is the Final Fantasy series. Now, I used to have this usually when I would do rankings. I've done rankings on my own of my favorite RPG series. I'd usually put it on A rank, but this past year in 2024, I played a lot of the classic games. Like, I'm talking Final Fantasy 1 through 6, and then I also played some other miscellaneous stuff like Final Fantasy 14 and Final Fantasy 12. So in terms of this series, I played literally every mainline game except for like 11 and 16. I'm actually currently playing Lightning Returns, so even for the 13 series, I'm on like the last part of that. So I played 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 10-2, 12, 13, 13-2, starting Lightning Returns, and I've played up to Stormblood in 14, and I've played 15, and I've played 7 Remake as well. So I have played a lot of mainline Final Fantasy. For one, the amount of great adventures in one series is absolutely amazing. And the gameplay is solid for pretty much the entire series, and I really respect how much variety there is. Like, even in a game I'm not the biggest fan of, like Final Fantasy 12, I do respect that like they did their own thing in that game. There's a lot of people that love it for how that game specifically does things, and there's just so much variety in Final Fantasy. The ATB system is like super creative. It's really simple. Like it's something where it's like on the surface it's really simple. It's just like it's regular turn-based gameplay, but the turns are decided by this timer that each character has, and that's really it. But like when you actually play an ATB game, you can feel the tension in these different battles you do. And I also really like the connective tissue with this series. Even though every single game is a completely different world and setting and all of that, there are things like the crystals being important, or having summons, or having a character named Sid in your game. And I like that, like, even though these are so much very different things, a good chunk of the series, it's still very recognizable as Final Fantasy. And also I gotta mention Nobuo Uematsu and Masashi Hamazao as well. Those are my two favorite composers for Final Fantasy. There was a third composer that did some really good music, but I'm gonna mention them more in another game in this list. But yeah, so Final Fantasy is going above the Realms with You on the S rank list, the top tier, the peak RPG list. So the next game I have above Final Fantasy is a game that if you know anything about me, if you've watched my channel before, you've probably seen me talk about this game a lot, and that is Kingdom Hearts. And so yeah, this series has been my favorite action gameplay in anything so far. It's also got a long story that I followed for years, full of emotion and characters that are easy to connect to. The unique mind of Tetsuya Nomura and everyone working on the team has created experiences that you can't get anywhere else. It's also just fun to explore Disney worlds, even as someone who's not even a Disney fan. It's also got top-notch music from Yoko Shimomura, which is the other Final Fantasy composer that I didn't mention before. You've got lots of pianos and violins, but even so, there's some diversity in the soundtrack because of all the Disney World music. I really like how this series can also act as a gateway to other Square franchises like Final Fantasy and The Realms with You, and even Einhander, which is crazy. Honestly, my overall taste in games is probably widely influenced by this series. The only reason it's not at the tippity top of my list is because there are moments in this series where I did feel let down. I don't love the gameplay in every single entry, but I do like it in like 90% of them. I really like in general how this series is so sincere. It's like, it could be, in this modern day and age where sometimes sincerity is looked as like cringe, man, there are so many moments that be considered cringe, but it's so good when you really put yourself in the shoes of the character and like embrace the sincerity of the series and really empathize with the characters and really get the feel of how they're feeling and the different things they're going through. From the outside looking in, it probably just seems like it's like some kid series, which overall it's like, you know, E10 is the age rating of every game. But man, this game gets really deep and it gets really dark at points. I mean, there's I won't spoil anything, but if you just think this is like some throwaway licensed Disney game, you're wrong, and you should definitely give it a try, honestly. And a lot of people, I want to say, I think they overblow how confusing the game is. If you play KH1, like KH1 is a pretty simple plot. It's a solid plot, but really fun adventure. A good hero's journey story and coming of age story that honestly could probably work well as like a Disney movie, honestly. Like I think if KH1 was just released as a Disney movie, I think people would love it. Like the general audience would probably really like it. I could be influenced by the fact that I played these games as a kid, so it's like you know, I have so much nostalgia towards the series. But from what I've seen, honestly, there's a lot of people who are starting it nowadays, people in their 20s even, which is around my age, I still really like the series, and you know, there's still something, they found something special about it. And so that is my number 2 game on this list. There is one more game that is currently my favorite JRPG series of all time, and this is especially surprising because this is a series that I have not played as long as Kingdom Hearts or Final Fantasy or Pokemon. This is a series I started more recently. I'd say maybe around 2018, 2019, somewhere around then, like a lot later than a lot of these other series. And it's a game series that's only on Nintendo, and it is, no, it's not Paper Mario. Don't no. It is a game series called Xenoblade Chronicles. Now, Tetsuya Takahashi is someone who I mentioned didn't get to complete his past projects. The first one is originally Xenogears, which I haven't played yet, but I'm actually going to stream it very soon. And Xenosaga, which I mentioned before, and Xenoblade is the first series that he actually got to complete his full vision of. And Tetsuya Takahashi likes to include a lot of philosophical themes and religious themes, and they're a lot more prominent in Xenosaga, at least more blatant. Xenoblade Chronicles does continue that, as well as having 4 individual stories that have an awesome blend of fantasy and sci-fi, topped off with a shonen anime flair. It's got some top-notch music with orchestral rock, and it's got engaging, real-time yet strategic combat. It's got large-scale, unique worlds to explore, and this is a series that consistently brought back the large-scale adventures I liked back on classic RPGs into the modern gaming sphere. It really doesn't feel like they have to become restrictive to accommodate for the high level of presentation or the large scale of the game. I really like the main parties too for most of these games, at least. I'm not too crazy about the Xenoblade X cast, but Definitive Edition could probably change my mind. But it's just insane how in this day and age there's a studio dropping banger after banger after banger in such a timely manner. While other series have let me down at points, the main trilogy of Xenoblade were all masterpieces in my eyes. It's like you take the passion and the quality and the scale, a classic JRPG story, and you give it the modern gameplay, modern presentation, modern voice acting, and just modern gaming sensibilities. I'm someone who, yeah, I like my classic games, but also I like modern games too. Yeah, with these absolutely unique top tier stories and gameplay, you have also these insanely cinematic cutscenes with crazy anime fight scenes and amazing character animations and amazing voice acting. Yeah, I really like too how it has a lot of its sci-fi aspects sort of hidden in its fantasy setting. And also, I really like the gameplay a ton. It's like an MMO type of gameplay, but I like it more than actual MMOs I've played, like Final Fantasy XIV. It's like it's real time, you're running around fighting the enemy, but it's not action based. You're still using a menu to do your commands, and you gotta, you know, strategize with your other party members and make sure that depending on what role you're playing, like, you know, attacker, tank, or healer, that you're doing your job properly, and you know, you gotta take down all these crazy enemies. Even things just like the weapons they have, I love the way they open up to unveil like a giant laser, like a flame laser, like, you know, a pirate sword, or you know, different things like that. Like all the technology, I liked all the sci-fi embedded. You got like different robots flying around trying to attack you, giant robots, which is a Takahashi thing, but got all this crazy stuff going on, space stations, you got all this cool stuff, and it's just so fun to explore. And I think this is a series that, like, if you took these stories and brought them back to the olden days of the SNES or the PS1, then, like, you know, it would still hold up alongside all the greats of the JRPGs. And you know, yeah, that's not something I could say for a lot of modern JRPGs coming out, a lot of modern Final Fantasies. Even as much as I like Final Fantasy, you know, I can't say that it's still as amazing as the old ones, even if I do still like the new ones. Anyway, so that has been my RPG tier list as of April of 2025. All right, so I hope you guys enjoy my tier list. I hope you don't have your pitchforks out destroying me for certain opinions, but you know, these are, I guess this is sort of like a reflection of my whole journey with JRPGs, and we have that as a base experience, and now we're going to be expanding out into whatever's next. And so I'm excited to be trying out some new stuff, and definitely share, well, it might be a lot of stuff for your whole tier list, but like share like your 3 favorite JRPGs of all time, and or series I should say, and let me know, or let me know if my opinions suck, or if they're really good, or if you agree with them, or if they're completely different from your list. And yeah, so that's gonna be it. Thank you guys for watching. Tune in to Xenogears, and I'll be seeing you guys next time.